If you have a $2.5 million portfolio and you're approaching retirement, the question of how much can I actually spend in retirement has probably been something that you've at least thought of. And in today's video, we're going to dive into just that. If you're approaching retirement, you have a $2.5 million portfolio, how much can you reasonably expect to spend in retirement? I was just looking at some data the other day, and it suggested that the average couple in the United States will need about $100,000 per year in retirement. For an individual, that number was $57,000. It's important to note that when we think about retirement income today, only 20% of people between the ages of 25 and 54 have a pension. Pensions, as you probably know, are losing their prevalence. 91% of people 65 plus are on Social Security. And when we think about the average Social Security benefit for 2025, the individual benefit was $2,008. The combined benefit, if we just multiply that by 2, is $4,016. So let's just assume that you are an average couple and you'll receive a combined benefit from Social Security in the amount of, call it, $48,000 per year. Well, if you are that average couple, you know that you're going to need about $100,000 every year in retirement. So you have a $52,000 per year deficit. Now, where is that money coming from? Maybe you have a pension, but like we just said, only 20% of people between 25 and 54 have a pension. So likely you aren't going to be in this situation. Now, how much can that $2.5 million portfolio produce in the form of income for your retirement? Well, if we just look at withdrawal rates, we see here that $2.5 million at 5% will produce about $125,000. At 6%, about $150,000. And at 7%, about $175,000. Now add that to our Social Security benefit. Just for the sake of easy math, let's assume that's $50,000. That 5% withdrawal rate added to our benefit would give us about $175,000. At 6%, about $200,000. And at 7%, about $225,000. Another big factor to consider relative to your retirement income, no matter the amount that you have. But if you have $2.5 million, something to be very mindful of here is, where are these assets located? Are they in an IRA? Are they in a taxable account, a Roth IRA? The reason it's important to identify the location of this money is because you will be taxed differently, subject to what account these assets are in. If these funds are in an IRA, they will be taxed as ordinary income. If they're in a taxable account, there's flexibility here. We'll either be taxed at short-term capital gains, long-term capital gains, or ordinary income. And if they're in a Roth, assuming you've met that 5-year rule, these will be tax-free. So it's important to identify the asset location. And in addition to the asset location, it is crucial to have an allocation that's composed and structured in such a way that it is suited to you and your needs in the forms of distributions from these accounts. So thinking about our allocation, if we just have a traditional growth portfolio, call it a 70-30 portfolio, you might on an average get 8 to 9% per year. Or let's say that you have a conservative portfolio. If you have a conservative portfolio and you look at the average annual return, you might reasonably expect 5 to 6%. And so it's important when we think about, hey, how much income can this $2.5 million portfolio in retirement produce? We need to think more about just the dollar amount that we can pull out. We also need to think about, how are we allocated? Can we actually support this withdrawal rate? And where are these assets located? What does that tax liability look like? At the end of the day, it is totally subject to you, your circumstances, and the goals that you have in retirement. Does $200,000 seem like a pipe dream, something you could never spend that amount of money? Or does $200,000 seem like not near enough? See, depending on your situation, in terms of where you're at, that $2.5 million may or may not produce the income that you need to live your own desired retirement. So when we think about retirement income planning, it is crucial to be proactive, to build a plan around what it is that you want to do in retirement, the income that you need to support your desired retirement. Guys, if you want to create a plan that highlights just that goes over, hey, how are we allocated? What is the location of our accounts? What are some strategies that we could implement to maybe reduce our lifetime tax liability while also increasing our income? Then I invite you to click the link in the description, create your free retirement plan, and you will be on your way in no time. And as always, thank you so much. Bye-bye.